The word overthinking means that a single mind is trying to process a huge number of events at once, using a lot of time and energy to analyze everything. Simply put, overthinking is thinking too much. It happens when someone spends hours replaying and analyzing a thought instead of taking action. Overthinking usually starts gradually, not suddenly. It often begins with simple, everyday worries. As these small worries accumulate, they can trigger overthinking because the person cannot manage their concerns. At this stage, stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline rise in the body. At first, overthinking occurs unconsciously, without awareness. The main trigger is fear, often rooted in past negative experiences or trauma. The first moment of overthinking usually happens when a relatively small or simple event is perceived as overly complex or threatening. This sets off a continuous loop of repetitive thoughts, and the cycle of overthinking begins. When you overthink, a network in your brain called the default mode network becomes hyperactive. This is the part that triggers self-focused thoughts. At the same time, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, lights up, making small worries feel bigger. And your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and control, loses efficiency. This combination creates the feeling of being trapped in your own mind, unable to stop analyzing every little detail. So why does overthinking continue? There are several key reasons. 1. Cycle of fears and habits. Repetitive negative thoughts activate fear responses, which then trigger more repetitive thinking, creating a self-reinforcing loop. 2. Uncertainty and lack of control. The brain tries to solve ambiguity to regain control, but overanalyzing uncertain situations often increases stress instead of reducing it. 3. Fear of the future, decisions, and failure. Overthinkers focus on what might go wrong rather than actionable solutions, fueling indecision and anxiety about failure. 4. Not making decisions, just thinking. Staying stuck analyzing every angle leads to analysis paralysis, where no decision gets made. 5. Illusion of protection. Mentally rehearsing every outcome gives a false sense of security. It doesn't actually improve results. 6. Excessive social pressure. Dwelling on what others think or fearing negative evaluation increases repeated thoughts about social situations. 7. Anxiety and depression. Overthinking is correlated with higher levels of anxiety and depression. Repetitive thoughts deepen negative emotions and prolong distress. 8. Past traumatic experiences. Trauma creates a foundation for fear-based rumination, where the mind repeatedly revisits past threats or reminders of past pain. Now that we understand overthinking, let's explore 10 effective ways to overcome it. 1. Be aware of when overthinking starts. Being mindful of your thoughts is the first step to breaking the cycle. Self-awareness helps you interrupt repetitive thinking before it spirals. 2. Distract yourself when you're overthinking. Once you catch yourself overthinking, gently shift your attention to something else. One practical trick is to give yourself a small, safe physical stimulus, like snapping a rubber band on your wrist, to create a brief jolt that interrupts the mental loop. Another universally accessible method is to write down your thoughts in a notebook. Writing externalizes your worries, clears your mind, and helps you see patterns without getting stuck in them. Engaging in a hobby, walking, or any focused activity also gives your brain a much-needed break. 3. Let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism fuels overthinking because you're constantly analyzing every detail, trying to get it just right. Letting go of perfectionism reduces anxiety and opens space for action. 4. Don't predict the future. Overthinkers often try to predict all possible negative outcomes. Focusing on the present moment reduces mental loops and stress. 5. Set deadlines for decisions. One reason overthinking persists is endless analysis. Setting a decision deadline creates structure, helps you act instead of spinning your wheels, and reduces hesitation. 6. Practice self-acceptance. Overthinking often comes from self-criticism. Learning to accept yourself, flaws, and all lowers negative self-talk and reduces rumination. 7. Try meditation and mindfulness. Meditation increases awareness of thoughts without judgment. Mindfulness practices train your brain to observe patterns instead of getting tangled in them. 8. Try a digital detox. Constant notifications and endless scrolling fuel comparison and anxiety. Taking a break from digital devices reduces intrusive thoughts and mental clutter. 9. Name your thoughts. Labeling a thought, like saying this is a worry, creates psychological distance. This technique helps your brain recognize thoughts as temporary events, not facts. 10. Move from thinking to action. Overthinking stalls you in analysis. Taking even a small action step, writing a plan, making a call, starting a task, breaks the mental loop and reduces anxiety more effectively than rumination alone. These 10 techniques are practical, science-backed, and anyone can start using them today. Remember, the key is awareness, action, and creating small habits that interrupt the loop of overthinking. By practicing these strategies, you can take control of your thoughts and live a calmer, clearer life free from overthinking. I hope you start your journey toward a mind that's peaceful, focused, and fully in the present.